guys, it's Stock Curry, and in just a moment, I'm going to give you every single stock pick from the top 10 YouTubers. But first, let's do a quick market update and just let you guys know where I think the market is going to be going this coming week. So right now, it's kind of a tough time in the market. We have, on one hand, we have the technicals that are extremely bearish with these cup and handles that have formed. On the other hand, we have fundamentals that are really good. And that's really the story from both the past week and this coming week, is that we have this good and bad on everything. Every single bit of news that comes out has a good side and a bad side. It's like yin and yang on everything. For example, let's talk about the pandemic, right? On the pandemic, we have a ton of vaccines that are happening. The United States is 20% vaccinated. I think UK might be up to like 50%. That's great. So it looks like this whole thing is coming to an end. And then on the other hand, we have new surges that are happening that are causing new lockdowns in Europe. And so we have the good part and then we have the bad part. And then we take trade, right? The global economy is starting to reopen. We are getting back to normal. And then we have the blockage in the Suez Canal, which is halting international trade. So the good and the bad. We have EV stocks that are doing extremely well. Tons of new electric vehicles being produced. A lot of people buying EVs, expanding into new countries. And then we have the semiconductor shortage, which is causing the EV manufacturers to not be able to produce any vehicles. So the good and the bad. And that is the story of everything. We got the fundamentals that are good, the technicals that are bad. Everything right now has this good and bad, and we don't know what the market's going to do. We don't know which way it's going to go. And so there are two key takeaways from this. Number one is you have to be long-term minded right now. What that means is go look at your stocks, even the stocks that you're down on. And what I want you to do is I want you to change the chart, and I want you to look at that chart for the past year and the past 5 years. And what you're going to find, especially in the high growth stocks, is even over the past 6 months, they are still up a considerable amount. And so you really have to take a longer term perspective. Now I know, especially if you're a new trader, this is really, really hard for you. If you've only been trading in the market for about a month or two and you've just been losing money and you don't know what's going on, it can be really hard because you don't have the experience or the history to have been trading for 25 years like I have. And you haven't seen that over time, if you just hold your valuations of the stocks that you buy, it's going to go up and up and up and up. And so you really have to take this longer term perspective to understand that, you know what, everything is just fine. It's a small temporary setback. We're going to recover and we're going to get back to new all-time highs. And so the second key takeaway is this. Because we are going in a time where things could really go either way, we really have to be very careful about what sectors we are invested in, and more importantly, what stocks, individual stocks, we are invested in. And so we can't just be going out there right now and just throwing all of our money into a bunch of stocks. I mean, let's face it, a lot of us, like myself, are out of money because we put all of our money into stocks 3 weeks ago when they hit a bottom, and now they're pretty much where they were 3 weeks ago. And so for some of us, it just means holding and waiting long term, and everything's going to recover and we're going to be just fine. We're going to make a lot of money. For those of you who are looking for stocks to buy, you have some cash. Maybe you had some cash left over that you haven't invested yet. Maybe you are like me and you put money into the stock market every 2 weeks. For you, you got to be very careful about what stocks you're buying and what industries you're buying stocks in. Because some stocks and industries are going to go way down this week and some are going to go way up. And so that's what one of the things we do on this channel is we go over the top 10 YouTubers, and I spend hours every single day watching every single YouTube video from the top 10 YouTubers, and then I compile it all into a single video, and then I give you every single stock pick from the top 10 YouTubers. And that's what we're about to do right now. And for those of you who like my own stock picks, you're like, Scott, I want your stock picks. Great. All you have to do is follow me on Twitter and Facebook. I don't make you sign up for some Patreon or anything to get my stock picks. All you have to do is follow me on Twitter or Facebook, and you're going to get my stock picks. Now, some that I have time to give you a full detailed analysis on, I'll put into a YouTube video. Some are more time sensitive. Like Wednesday, for example, I put out an alert on Facebook and Twitter, and I said, you might want to consider buying ON, which is ON Semiconductor. You might want to consider buying this Thursday morning. For those of you who did buy Thursday, I think you were up like 5 or 6% just in Thursday and Friday combined. So take a look at my Facebook and Twitter. I have a link to them in the description of this video. If you're not currently following me, you can do that. Look in the description of the video and you can get my Facebook and Twitter there. All right, guys, let's get into today's stock picks. For those of you who are new to this channel, my name is Stock Curry. I used to work as an analyst for some large investment banks, and now I analyze stock picks from the top 10 YouTubers. I compile all of my analysis into a single daily video. And all you have to do is watch one video from me each trading day, and you will get every single stock pick from the top 10 YouTubers. By the way, this week we only have 4 trading days. Friday is a holiday, so just keep that in mind. It is a Good Friday this Friday, so there's no trading on Friday. All right, guys. All I ask in return for putting all this together for you is that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so that you can get notified when I release my next video. In fact, let me give you 5 seconds to do that right now. All right, before we get into today's stock picks, I just want to remind everyone that I am not a financial advisor and none of the YouTubers I follow are financial advisors either. Today's video is strictly for entertainment purposes only. For those of you who are wondering, you are currently looking at the Webull desktop app. Webull is the app that I use for my trading, and it is also the app that I use in all of my videos. By the way, if you want to get 2 free stocks, you can sign up for Webull using my link in the description below. When you sign up and deposit $100, Webull's going to give you 2 free stocks worth up to $1,850. We can also see here that the Asian markets are all green, so hopefully that's a good sign for us going into Monday morning. All right, let's get into today's stock picks. First up is ALVR. This is ALVR, and they're a pharmaceutical company. Keenan Grace mentioned ALVR on Friday, but stressed to get this on your watch list and not necessarily to buy it yet. The RSI is oversold at 20, and the MACD is quite bearish at -4. The EMAs also look terrible. This looks like another CLOV, but let's take a look at the pipeline and see if there's any hope for this company. Okay, it looks like they have 1 drug that is in phase 3 trials, 1 drug that is in phase 2 trials, and the rest are still in development. So there is hope, at least with the first drug. Okay, I want to take a look at the insider activity in ALVR. We can do that on tip ranks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the uninformative because those are ones where people did it just due to normal transactions and not necessarily because they had any intention of buying or selling. And we end up with 7 transactions. Now, 4 of these were 8 months ago, so let's look at the ones from the last 2 months. We have a sell from the CCO, we have a sell from the CMO, and we have a sell from a director. So I'm wondering what went wrong in the last 2 months that caused these insiders to start selling. Clearly they were having some kind of problems because if we take a look at the news here in Webull, we can see that they just got a new CEO. The good news is that the CEO starts on May 17th, so hopefully the new CEO can stop the bleeding. Now if we take a look at what the analysts have to say, it looks like if ALVR can get some good news to start flowing and they can get FDA approval, then they have a $55 average analyst price target, which represents a 154% upside from Friday's closing price. So overall, ALVR has potential, but we'll need to see it show some signs of life before we take a chance and buy in. Next up is BABA. This is Alibaba, and they are the Chinese version of Amazon. StockMo listed BABA as one of the best growth stocks to buy now. BABA has an average analyst price target of $324.25, which represents a 42% upside from Friday's closing price. Next up is BNGO. This is Bionanogenomics, and Keenan Grace reminded us that BNGO might be doing a share offering soon. When that was announced on Wednesday, the stock dropped quite a bit. But it did bounce off of the 100-day EMA on Thursday, which is good to see. The RSI continues to drop though, and the MACD remains bearish. So technically, BNGO does not look good right now. However, Keen and Grace reminded us to ask why BNGO might be doing a share offering. Why does BNGO need to raise more cash? The reason is to fund expansion, including accreditation of their Sapphire machine in other countries, marketing for commercial expansion, and most importantly, building a prototype for their next generation Sapphire machine. And we can see that future growth and expansion reflected in the average analyst price target of $14.33, which represents an 84% upside from Friday's closing price. Next up is CCIV. This is a SPAC and they're merging with Lucid Motors. Lucid Motors is an American EV company and a competitor to Tesla. The merger is supposed to happen sometime between April and June of this year. StockMo let us know that Lucid also has an energy storage business in addition to their car business, so like Tesla, there may be more reasons to buy CCIV than just EVs. Next up is CHPT. This is ChargePoint, and they are the largest charging station company in North America with 73% of the market. Keen and Grace showed us that the average analyst price target is $42.50, which represents a 107% upside potential from Friday's closing price. Personally, I think it's pretty impressive when conservative Wall Street analysts are saying you can double your money in a year with CHPT. Now, as far as when to buy in, now. CHPT is already oversold and should start going back up this week. I will give you a buy-in price of $23, an ideal buy-in price of $21, and a stop-loss price of $19.40. And make sure you set that stop-loss, because the technicals on CHPT are still quite bearish, and this stock could continue to drop. StockMo agrees and warns that CHPT could drop all the way down to $16 a share if this bearishness continues. Despite that, there is massive upside potential, so CHPT remains a great long-term hold. StockMo listed CHPT as one of the best growth stocks to buy now. Next up is CRWD. This is CrowdStrike, and this is a cybersecurity company used by banks and other large companies to help cybersecurity professionals manage threats. Keen and Grace let us know that CRWD is holding an investor conference on Thursday, April 8th to go over their vision for the company and provide deeper insight into the business. The average analyst price target is $255, which represents a 43% upside from Friday's closing price. Now, personally, I don't quite like buying in yet. CRWD is still very bearish on the chart. If you want to invest in CRWD, I would try to buy in closer to the 200-day EMA at around $163, or just above that. Next up is ETSY. This is Etsy, and StockMo listed ETSY as one of the best growth stocks to buy now. ETSY has a $244 price target, which represents a 20% upside from Friday's closing price. Next up is FSR. This is Fisker, and they're a car company getting into EVs. StockMo mentioned FSR today for the first time. He said he owns FSR, and he bought more on Friday, now that it's come down quite a bit off of its highs. The average analyst price target is $29, which represents a 64% upside from Friday's closing price. Next up is GILT. This is GILT Satellite Networks, and they're a 5G satellite company. Keen and Grace mentioned GILT is one of the stocks that could be included in ARK Invest's new ARKX Space Exploration ETF. ARK's ARKX fund could start trading as early as Monday, so keep your eye on the news for any announcements from ARK Invest about their new ARKX fund. Also, if you're looking for a great dividend stock, the dividend yield on GILT is a massive 13.82% right now. So even if ARK does not include GILT in its new ARKX fund, you should seriously consider buying GILT just for the dividend. Now, I will remind you that we had a buy-in price of $14 on GILT and an ideal buy-in price of $11. We are below the ideal buy-in price right now, so this is a great time to buy GILT. As with any stock you buy right now, just make sure you set a tight stop loss in case the market continues to go down. So I will give you a stop loss price of $9.50 on GILT. Next up is GNUS. This is Genius Brands, and Chris Sain recommends getting GNUS on your watch list this week. He said there are some catalysts that are coming up that could move the stock one way or the other. Next up is IDEX. This is IDEX, and they make a wireless charging stations for EVs, similar to how your phone charges on a wireless charging pad. Chris Sain said this is a $5 to $7 short-term play. He recommends buying on a dip, and all of the technicals on IDEX are still bearish, so if you can buy IDEX closer to the 200-day EMA at around $2.30, that would be ideal. Next up is INSG. This is NNOX. They're a 5G company and they make secure wireless routing. Keen and Grace mentioned INSG on Friday. The average analyst price target is $12.80, which represents a 31% upside from Friday's closing price. Now technically, we can see that INSG retouched a low on Thursday and started to go back up on Friday. The RSI bounced off of oversold and the MACD remains bullish. So overall, INSG is mildly bullish on the technicals. If you want to invest in INSG, you might want to wait for confirmation of a rebound before buying in. I would wait for INSG to close above the 200-day EMA for 1 day before buying in. Next up is IPOE. This is a SPAC and they're merging with SoFi, which is an online fintech startup. ZipTrader let us know that SoFi is going to be giving us a way to access IPOs before they go public. This is something that historically has only been available to large institutions. I will let you know that I use SoFi for my long-term investments because they also do fractional shares and automatic dividend reinvestments. Now with SoFi giving us access to IPOs before they go public, this is a game changer for SoFi and retail investors like you and I. If you want to open a SoFi account, you can check out my promotions page for the current promotion. I have a link to my promotions page in the first comment of this video. Next up is MP. This is MP Materials. They are the only rare earth mining company in North America. Keen and Grace reminded us that MP announced a note offering last week, which caused the stock price to go down despite positive earnings. As we normally see with downward pressure on stock prices, large institutional investors use it as a buying opportunity to buy the dip. Keen and Grace showed us that 9 of the top 10 largest institutions added to their MP positions last quarter. And as we can see on Fintel.io, there has been nothing but outright buying over the last few months and a ton of institutions opening new positions. By the way, everything highlighted green is a new position that has been opened. This is very bullish from institutional investors. Now, I don't pay for Fintel.io yet, but I plan to soon because they have a lot of great information on this site. And as you can still see some really good information without paying. I have a link to Fintel.io in the description of this video if you want to check it out. Keen and Grace also showed us that the average analyst price target is $47, which represents a 34% upside from Friday's closing price. By the way, if you want access to tip ranks, I also have a link to tip ranks in the description of this video. And just to let you know, all of the links under resources in the description of this video are free to view data. In some cases, you need to create a free account to get access. Most of the resources have paid options to get access to more data, but you don't have to pay if you just want the basic information. I provide these resources to you so that you will have access to the same tools that I use when I'm doing my due diligence on stocks. That way you can make an informed decision as to whether or not you want to buy a stock. Now, Keen and Grace gave MP a buy-in price of $35 and an ideal buy-in price of $32. Basically, Keen and Grace wants to buy this between the 50-day and 100-day EMAs. And I agree, although I'm going to set my prices a little bit higher. I'll give you a buy-in price of $37, an ideal buy-in price of $33, and a stop-loss price of $32. Next up is NIO. This is NIO, and they're a Chinese EV manufacturer. Keen and Grace, Stockmo, and ZipTrader all let us know that NIO announced that they were stopping production for 5 days due to a shortage in semiconductor chips. They also cut their first quarter delivery forecast for the same reason. NIO was down over 4% on Friday on that news. Keen and Grace called this drop a blessing in disguise. NIO is now at the 200-day EMA again. And even though the RSI is dropping and the MACD is bearish, the bearishness is also weak. And so while I do think NIO might drop a little bit more, perhaps intraday on Monday, I do think NIO is very close to bottoming out here. If you missed your opportunity to buy NIO very cheap 3 weeks ago, you now have another chance. Chris Hain gave a $34 buy-in price in NIO, but actually I think anything under $38 is a great deal on this stock. Stockmo did say that he bought a January 2023 LEAP call options on NIO on Friday. He bought the $35 call options with a $49 break-even price. Stockmo also lowered his year-end price target on NIO to $75 due to the semiconductor chip shortage and manufacturing shutdowns. Next up is NNOX. This is NanoX Imaging. They are a new X-ray manufacturer that is significantly reducing costs compared to current X-ray technology. We've talked about NNOX before, and now famous people are starting to talk about it. In fact, John Nosta, a scientist in the field of digital health, said, quote unquote, "The digitization of the X-ray source is technology disruption in the purest and most contemporary sense." Now, I also want to let you guys know that I bought an NNOX on Friday. You can follow all of my buys and sells on Twitter and Facebook. I do not have a Patreon where I make you pay to see what I'm buying and selling. I just post them to Twitter and Facebook. I am here to help you in the best way possible, and I don't think you should have to pay to see what I'm buying and selling. Next up is OKTA. This is OKTA, and StockMo listed OKTA as one of the best growth stocks to buy now. OKTA has an average analyst price target of $271.67, which represents a 27% upside from Friday's closing price. Next up is PINS. This is Pinterest, and StockMo listed PINS as one of the best growth stocks to buy now. PINS has an average analyst price target of $91.68, which represents a 32% upside from Friday's closing price. Next up is SKLZ. This is Skills, and they're an online gaming company. ZipTrader let us know that ARK Invest bought more SKLZ this past week. The stock is down quite a bit over the past few months, and while all of the technicals are still very bearish, the RSI is now showing oversold, so the bottom may be near for SKLZ. This stock has been dropping partly due to the correction, but more so due to a short seller report released by Wolfpack Research. And Wolfpack Research is a name that you should be familiar with. They have a long history of releasing short reports packed full of false information. Very often, their reports will cause the stock to go down in the short term, but eventually the stock becomes oversold and will rebound. And we can see how, despite the short seller report, in the past few days, two analysts reiterated their price targets of $28 and $34 respectively. By the way, the average analyst price target of $30.67 represents a 64% upside potential from Friday's closing price. Now, if you want access to tip ranks or lucid tracking, I have links to both of those sites in the description of this video. They are both free to sign up and create accounts. Also, if you are not familiar with SKLZ, I encourage you to go watch ZipTrader's video that he uploaded Friday night. Next up is VIAC. This is Viacom CBS, and they're a television network. TraceTrade showed us how VIAC dropped 50% last week after they announced a large share offering. But the share sell-off was exaggerated by the liquidation of Archegos Capital. Archegos Capital, like many hedge funds, used large amounts of margin to purchase shares. When VIAC started dropping at the beginning of the week last week, Archegos Capital got margin called by one of their investment banks, and they were unable to meet the margin call. As a result, the investment banks that Archegos Capital trades through ended up liquidating their holdings, which caused a massive sell-off in Archegos Capital's two largest holdings, VIAC and DISCA, which is the Discovery Channel. Now, it's possible the VIAC and DISCA were just caught up in the sell-off due to the liquidation. There's a chance the VIAC and DISCA were not the actual holdings that Archegos Capital got margin called on. Regardless, they were liquidated to meet the margin call. Now, TraceTrade speculated that this is just the start of many margin calls and possible sell-offs from large hedge funds. And that might be true, but I want to look at this from a trader's mindset. Can we make money off of this? And the answer is yes. This can be played in much the same way as any overreaction can be played. Essentially, this is a recovery play. And if you want to buy this Monday at the pre-market open, I would look for about a 25% upside before selling and taking profits. By the way, if you don't have access to pre-market trading, Webull allows pre-market trading starting at 4 a.m. on the East Coast. And if you sign up now using my link in the description below and deposit $100, Webull's going to give you 2 free stocks worth up to $1,850. So it's possible that you could buy this Monday at the pre-market open at 4 a.m. for around $48 and then sell it by the end of this week for around $60 for a quick 25% profit. No guarantees, of course, but that's one possible play you can make on this stock. Finally, we have VUZI. This is VUZI, and they're an augmented reality company that already has a lot of customers. Dead Inside said he bought VUZI on Friday after it dropped 22% at one point. VUZI announced a share offering, which is why the stock was down. But before they announced the share offering, they released a number of positive press releases, including new customers, new fields, and an app store of sorts, where users of their glasses can download apps to use with their glasses. Taking a look at the technicals, I can see that VUZI closed above the 21-day EMA, but the RSI is dropping and the MACD is also dropping. So I think there's a good chance that VUZI might drop down to the 50-day EMA before going back up. So if you're interested in investing in VUZI, I will give you a buy-enter price of $20, an ideal buy-in price of $18, and a stop-loss price of $15.60. Also, if you choose to invest in VUZI, I would recommend that you make this a long-term hold and do not try to swing trade it. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video and get a lot out of it. Comment down below what your favorite stock pick is. And if you want to get some free stocks, sign up for Webull using my link in the description below. When you sign up and deposit $100, Webull is going to give you 2 free stocks worth up to $1,850. And finally, remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and click the bell icon if you haven't already. I hope you have a lot of success trading, and I will see you tomorrow.